Top Lobsters in the house. Let's get it. It is Sunday night. It is 6 o'clock Eastern. You know where the place to be is because you're already here. Our quote tonight is from Rose Wilder Lane. When men stand up, or when men set up an imaginary authority, I can read, I promise. When men set up an imaginary authority armed with force, they destroy all opportunity to exercise their natural freedom. And we have witnessed that in spades for quite a bit here. We have a special guest here tonight. He has started to kind of make a name for himself in a big way in libertarian circles and in other circles that are where we're starting to find friends and allies outside of even like traditional libertarian circles. Top Lobsta joins us. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. It's been, man, we scheduled this like 2 months ago, right?
Yeah. We've been trying to grind through getting everybody who we wanted to try to have on. And so we're glad we finally got you on here.
For sure.
Yeah, I might have been in New York when I like accepted, and then that's why I told you guys I was in flux, but we're out here now and we're doing it. So
where you at now?
I'm in Florida. I'm in like north of Orlando.
How you like it there? How you like it in Florida? Florida.
It's great. It's beautiful. I mean, it's free. People leaving me alone, and I guess the place that we bought over here is more of like it's how I want to live. So I'm happy. Yeah.
Nice.
So they weren't leaving you alone in New York?
Not really.
Yeah, I know. We know the answer to that question. It's just what were you going to say, Marcus?
Same thing. You stole it right out of my mouth. So was it just because of the like lockdowns, or were you like, I just don't want to pay a shit ton of taxes? What was the impetus?
Boy, I mean, where do you start? Actually, so when I married my wife, we kind of like, even when we were dating, we always agreed like this isn't really the place for us. But she had a job, and then I got a job, and I was tied down there. Then you have kids. And your whole life structure is there. You're born there, so your family's there and all that. And it's just kind of hard to escape. Then COVID happens, and it shook up a lot of things. And I saw how, the government treated my friends and how just the people in general around us were acting. And I said, you know what? Now's the time. Now's the time to get out of here. Should have done it earlier. And we've paid the price for it. So for not leaving sooner.
Yeah. So I actually want to dig into that a little bit, because like we had our church festival this weekend, and I probably talked to 5-10 people, and they all said the same thing, like they're ready to retire to Florida. I'm like, yeah, the only thing is I think I need about another $5 million to be able to retire there, because like how was that, like finding a place that wasn't going to cost you an arm and a leg and like your next 3 children?
Both the testicles,
Yes, it was nearly impossible. I mean, according to like last year's prices or 2 years ago, the place that we bought should probably be like $100K cheaper, but it's a matter of, do you want to do this or not? I had a good paying job in New York, and now I have a job here, but it pays a little bit less. But it's the question of, do you want to do this or not? Do you want to continue to make excuses, or do you want to live by your principles, or at least like give your kids a better way of life, And that's really what it came down to. So one of the I actually spoke with Dave Smith in Florida at the LP convention about this, and I haven't really mentioned it much on other podcasts because I do like crazy podcasts. But I
saw y'all's little bracket. That's some wild shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that stuff.
I'm just wondering how the Fats beat the Jews. That's all I'm wondering.
That's what I'm wondering too. But I think they changed my mind on it at the end. I was like, you know what, you guys might be right.
Oh shoot.
Anyway, I was telling Dave Smith about, like, because his son had issues when he was born, but My son, thank God, was healthy, but he's a bit speech delayed right now. And the more I look into it, the more I talk with we got teachers for him, like speech therapists and things like that. And I hear from everybody. They said, the last 2 years, the cases have been crazy. Like every kid is speech delayed or something up. And it could be the masks. It could be maybe in the beginning, no one was going outside, or even now, people are still kind of like iffy about each other in definitely in blue states, or at least New York, where I was from. So a big mistake was staying there, hanging out for the entirety of COVID, because I think we did pay the price. Well, my kids paid the price. So, but you know what? We're doing it right now. Now we're out here in a free place. You could see people's faces. With the kids, it's a lot about the impressionability and facial expressions of strangers specifically.
Absolutely.
Because, they see my face.
Sorry. I was going to ask you, what was or is your family's view on this whole situation? Did it affect you guys? Like, your close family, like if you have siblings, brothers, mom,
Oh, like was there some clash?
Was there ever a clash when you were originally in New York, when you lived out there, and then before Florida?
Yeah, that's a complicated one. I guess there was a clash. My parents don't necessarily agree with me politically, but they're not Democrats either. But they're just from New York, Spanish people from New York. So that's like, they're gonna think, I guess, a little bit towards the left. And we were being careful about COVID or whatever, because my parents are older and all that. My dad actually got hospitalized with it, and they got spooked, But I kind of made it a point to tell them. I said, listen, even if my wife died, I said, this is not the reaction that the entire populace is having to this thing is not worth the ramifications of what we're going to deal with, because we don't know what's going to happen with these kids. So I started to become like more radicalized about that and actually like moving away. And we did. And now my parents are closing on their house, and they're going to be moving on the property with me. We have a second house on this property. So yeah, I guess I didn't change their mind, but I have them thinking a little bit more outside the box, even though my dad was, he was hospitalized. He got it, and it was pretty nasty for him, But they still see the other side of this, like, hey, this is the social aspect of what we've done to the kids, especially in our society. It's just,
it's
awful,
terrible. It's beyond terrible. And I can only sympathize, and everybody in this can sympathize. I don't have kids, but I have siblings, and I see how it's affected them via school, via athletics, via social circles. It's like, and it's very interesting how like nobody points out what damage this done, other than the suicide rates are up through the roof, and like that's
I wonder why.
That's just that's one part of it. Yeah, that's like the tip of, it's a very tragic tip of the iceberg, but it doesn't. There's so many other things that are not that severe that are still we won't know for probably a couple of decades the damage that was done just in that little period of time. Like when you see like a tree that has like a spot where it got cut, or there was some damage of some sort, or a disease or something like that, and it just has like this weird thing, and like 30 years later it looks really, really weird and ugly and bad. Like that's what I think this is going to be. Like we're going to start to see this thing, these after effects years later, decades later, of like what the young adults, because we already see like there's some messed up young adults right now. Like it's been they've been doing a number on kids for a while. Nicco raising his hand.
It's a butterfly effect.
Yeah,
it is.
Sure.
So I'm curious with your child, and because you were saying that they were speech delayed. My daughter was vaccine injured and had speech delay as well. So I kind of understand that. What did the doctors, if you went to doctors, tell you to do to kind of solve that in the now age of all of that?
To solve the speech delay, we're doing I think it's called occupational therapy, and he has a speech therapist coming. So 2 times a week, one teacher, is going to come in and work. They just basically come and play with him at this point because he's 2. So, but they're showing him stuff, and he's actually he's learning. He's doing a lot better. Whereas before he was he was acting out. He's very frustrated, you know, when he can't communicate. And his sister is just, man, you heard her a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, that was her. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, she don't stop. So yeah, he was frustrated, but now he's able to communicate a little bit better. And I mean, we started in New York, and the craziest thing about it is the teachers would come and have a mask on the entire time in New York. And we're like, yeah, that's how we got here. That's
right. Exactly.
Yeah. But even with the mask, he did make some steps forward. So now in Florida, we just picked up, you know, we're continuing it now after, you know, the whole moving process, and the teachers are coming and no masks, thank God. So we'll see how quickly he can progress with that.
Nice. Hey, quick question. What are the age differential between your daughter and son?
2 years. So she's going to be 4 and he just turned 2. So about 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. How do you like
sleep? You don't.
Yeah, not necessarily sleep, but like, how do you like, how are you going to go about talking to your son about what happened, and your son and your daughter? How are you going to go about elaborating? Hey, government fucked us, but guess what? Dad's here, mom's here. We're building something great. We're building community. How do you approach the topic of, hey, we're living in a facade world, if you will?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot, and I'm not quite sure. So sometimes I look at so someone I work with, Drew Hancock. I don't know if you probably see him on Twitter.
I do.
Okay.
And yeah, bright young kid. He's 21, but his dad, he had mentioned to me, his dad is a libertarian, or a Ron Paul libertarian, and then Drew kind of followed in his footsteps and was reading at like 13. He was reading like Man, Economy, and State or something like that.
That's cold.
Yeah. So I asked him, I want to like pick his brain and say, what did your dad tell you? Like, is it specifically because of who you are that you lean this way, or was your dad, did he have a good way at giving
elaborating
this message
and breaking it down? Yeah.
Not just that, but making you not reject it, because your kids, you probably, I mean, if you have kids that are older, I worked with kids for 7 years, and if they don't think you're cool, they're going to reject you.
Right.
Yeah. And as a parent, I can't be cool. I got to tell my kid, you know, what to do. So I'm an asshole, you know? So I have to figure out how to trick both of them into, it's messed up, but I have to manipulate them into thinking at least the way I think is correct. And for both of my kids, I can tell it's going to be 2 vastly different paths. My daughter is strong-minded, and you know, she's in a no stage, but I can see her personality. My son's more laid back. So I don't know. I don't know.
If I may, Marcus and I both have like kids, you know, teenage, college, beyond, and everything. Like Marcus has adult kids. We've been through this, and I would offer that the path to like anarchism, libertarianism, voluntarism, whatever you want to call it, self-ownership, you instill the ideas of self-ownership and like a certain level of like, okay, look, you can't do that, and this is why. And because this is going to either hurt you, or it's going to destroy something that's going to end up costing us a bunch of money, and we're not going to be able to do whatever, you know, you can reason with people. It's a lot easier to me to instill in kids that like authoritarianism is not okay by not being an authoritarian, and by showing them a different path to like reasoning with them and like actually like building a cooperative relationship where there's a mutual respect that's given and taken, and there's I don't know, I understand what you're saying. Like there's a certain level of like, okay, I can't, because I get some stuff like if I wear something like this out or something like that, my son's like, can you please change? Can you please change your shirt?
What are you doing?
Throw some respect on Maj Touré's name.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Wait, listen here. Actually, I pulled that the other day. But the thing is that my dad had bought. It was a shirt from the flea market, and it had 4 of the black individuals. It didn't
have Uncle Hotep on it, though, did it?
No, it didn't. It had Rosa Parks. It had Martin Luther King. It had Obama and Malcolm X.
You just got to buy him the Uncle Hotep one, the one with Thomas Sowell and Clarence Thomas and Walter E. Williams.
I would love to do that, but he would not sit
Malcolm.
down.
I think it's Malcolm.
He would not sit down and digest digest. Like, come on now. Like, if I were to be like, I sat there and I was like, Dad,
you don't have to get it for him. You just wear it. You just start wearing it. Whenever he wears his, you put that one on.
But no, it's like being a younger individual and like having an adult wearing a shirt like that. I'd be like, Dad, take that shit off, please. Like, granted,
you know, it's a tough one too, because like with my mom, when I'm trying to tell her about not libertarianism, but like these principles of anarchy or liberty, they're like, listen, I used to wipe your ass, you know, you little shit. So I'm like, I get it. It's hard for you to listen to me, but I think maybe I a little bit got through to her, but I don't know. Good luck with your dad, you know.
Right. So
go ahead.
I was just going to say, so where do you fall with, because I followed you. I know a little bit about you. I'm more knowledgeable about your artwork and those kinds of, where do you fall within this whole freedom spectrum? And just to be clear, yes, I'm an anarchist, but I don't give a shit. If you're on my side of the tyrannical divide, then you're on my side of the tyrannical divide, and we'll deal with you after we get the shit bags out of the way. So where do you fall when it comes to all of this stuff? Are you an anarchist? Are you a libertarian? Are you conservative? Where are you?
Wait, can I just ask Nicco, what does your dad, how does he reconcile like a Martin Luther King and then also a Malcolm X on the same shirt? Because that bugs me the most.
It does.
He is a part of I love you, Dad. He's a part of the ignoramus Negro group, and therefore I'm like, Dad.
Is that the shine? Is that what they?
The shine, the straight shine. And like he.
Oh shit, man!
I told this man, Dad, I can get rid of your diabetes in 3 months. All you have to do is just follow this certain meal plan and prep that I give to you.
Then he Googled Dr. Sebi, and he was like, "No, the top 3 Google results said he was a quack." So he said no.
And he don't even Google, man. He don't even Google. So, like, for him to be able to wear that shirt and put a smile on his face because, I'm black and I'm proud, and I got these people on my shirt, and I'm gonna walk around and let y'all know that y'all did something to me. All right, Dad, stay in that defeatist mentality where you think you're a slave and you're still being pushed down and this, that, and the third. Let me tell you about this real history real quick, though. That lady who sat on the bus, she was not the first one. Malcolm X was the only real nigga on there. Barack Obama probably fucked your life up more than anything. And then on top of that, we got who is that? Martin Luther King, who instigated or did the whole "we are to be together" thing, and then fucked up the whole black community because we don't have a central area of money to hold. I guess
wouldn't Malcolm be like at odds with like everybody on that shirt?
He would.
Like Rosa Parks like directly. He was like, why are you begging to be on the white man's bus? We have enough resources. We can buy our own bus company. Like we can build our own bus company and we'll ride our own bus and we won't let them on. Like we could just be like, all right, we got this. It's wild. It's bizarre, but it's
big fan of Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
Same. I don't know how people could not be a big fan of Malcolm X.
Oh, it's easy. The same reason that all that stuff happens, like what Nico's talking about with that shirt. It happened. They did it to white people too. They told us in all of our books and everything in high school. Like, I remember like thinking like Malcolm X was like some sort of like wacko dissident who like hated America and hated everybody, and they got him. Like that sort of thing. Like it was that's the drumbeat that you get is like. He's the bad guy, and Martin Luther King is the good guy, and that's why we celebrate one, and we don't even acknowledge the other one.
Well, you got to also take in consideration that nothing in this history book screams facts. Like nothing in the history book screams facts, because you can go in one part of the United States, and one history book will say one thing, and you can go to another one, and they'll say a completely radically different one. So if that is happening within our own states, what makes like why do like unfortunately, I could just only say black people that I think of, because it's like we're the only ones that are like, well, I can't say white people are not, but like black people are like for real out here bamboozled, and it's unnecessary. it's super necessary. No. Yeah,
the biggest hoax is that like every group thinks that everybody else is being brainwashed and they aren't. Like it's like no, we're being brainwashed too.
Yeah, nobody.
You got to be able to recognize it.
Nobody who is in our tax brackets have anything credible to this world. Nobody in our tax bracket would be able to like really comprehend what's out there, unless you do your research.
That's kind of like the last few years, especially being in this libertarian space. It really opened up my mind to what's possible, like what you can do, and that's super important for just about everyone. Because my dad was, he born in Puerto Rico, came to New York, got a city job, and then he told me, get a city job, it's safe, and do this, and then retire, and blah blah blah. That's most parents, they want the best for their kids, but that's what they think that it is. But once you realize, like, you open up your mind and you start seeing people creating and making money doing this or being successful in that realm, it's like, oh wow, I don't have to like have this mental chain on. You can open up your mind, and when you start thinking outside the box like that, I think all the stuff about, whether it be about race or whatever it is, that kind of just falls to the side, because now you're thinking on a different level, like of entrepreneurship or even just creativity.
Sure, facts.
Yeah, so thank you for the libertarian movement, for bringing me in and letting me meet all kinds of people that are doing cool shit.
How'd that happen for you?
How did I get into the libertarian movement? I will start from the beginning. When I was born. So I actually, in New York, I worked for the MTA. I was a track worker, and I was a state worker. I know, but that's okay.
So was Thomas Paine. He was a tax collector.
Oh, oof, yeah. Actually, that might be a good thing to tell my kids when they're older. Say, listen, I wanted to live by these kind of ideals, and I wanted to live a certain lifestyle, so I gave up a secure job to do something else, even though it's a sacrifice. You do what you live how you see fit, or at least represent the ideals that you're thinking of. But anyway, I was a track worker in 2015. I remember being on the tracks, and I was like apolitical, or maybe like, I don't know, whatever a Spanish person in New York that whatever that default is, like, didn't really care.
This system ain't for us, so why would I bother? Yeah.
So I guess Obama's okay, but I don't really know. I didn't think it affected me at the time. And we're on the tracks, and I hear someone down the track scream, "Ah!" So we look, we're like, "Oh shit, someone got like pinched by a rail or something crazy happened." And everyone runs over. What happened? He goes, Trump won. It's like the middle of the night. So I said, what the fuck? It's like, now we're like, what's going on? So I'm like, I have to start really paying attention to what's going on here. And it was just like a deep dive master class of start there at conservatism with, this Ben Shapiro stuff and Jordan Peterson, which is why I got my name, Top Lobsta. And from there, you go on and realize that's cool, but they're wrong. And then you keep on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, it's little on-ramps, and you're like, that was almost the destination, but it's not. I still have some more distance to travel.
Yes. Yeah, you think about it, you say, oh, that's, and then you have to, it's hard because you have to, like, you almost embody it, right?
Yeah,
like,
and then you have to, like, kind of, it's like molting. You're molting a little bit, like you put on a lobster, you're a lobster, you're molting, and you go through and you're like, that's not my skin anymore. That's not my shell.
Yeah, but then there are pieces of it that I'm still like sympathetic to. Obviously that. So that's kind of the pathway that I've led through, and it's interesting too, seeing a lot of people like stuck in their ways. And I'm like, in the last 5 years or 6 years, the amount of like rebirth and death that I've had in my ego or what I'm thinking is like been amazing, and it's constant. It's like every 3 months I'm like, oh, that's great, and then shut it down, pull it to the side. And thank God by the time I got into the liberty space about maybe 4 years ago, I was smart enough to say, I'm not going to put like libertarian in my bio or claim that, because by that time I realized like, these people, it can kind of, it can go, it's collectivist, and it can go either way. And sometimes they represent you, and sometimes it's like, I don't want to look like a clown. So
a lot.
Yes, That's
no, there's a lot of
where I'm
people
at.
who think if you don't want to do everything that they want to do, then you're somehow like a statist. And I'm like, no, I just don't fuck with what you're doing.
Right. I don't like to snort a bunch of cocaine.
I also don't want you to be thrown in a cage for doing what you want to do.
Right.
I just don't want to do it. And that doesn't make me a bigot or a phobe or a whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand where we got to this point where it's like, if you like, it would be the same as me saying, if you don't go to Catholic mass, you are not a libertarian and you are a statist. You know why? Because I want to, and you must want to throw me in jail because you don't go. Like what? Like no.
Yeah. I like really. I guess I crossed the line, or I like to just put my foot on. As you've seen from Tower Power Hour, I like to put my foot right on that line and smack it around a little bit just to see. Mm-hmm. And also sometimes I have an opinion that is a little bit controversial or out there, but I'm like, I kind of think this right now, so let's just say this, and I don't give a shit.
It's necessary though. That kind of banter is necessary, and it's unfortunate it's dying in this world.
Yeah, I might be wrong. I probably am wrong, but I need to be able to explore these ideas. So
at least you've acknowledged it though. Like you're acknowledging the fact that I could be possibly wrong. The people who are that deny that they're not wrong, ones that are genuinely like stuck in their own ways, their own play. They remind me of Gremlin. Like, how are you 25 years old and you stuck in your own ways and you haven't even passed a certain peak in your life?
Yeah. Well, it's like Voltaire. This is one of my favorite Voltaire quotes. Voltaire said, treasure, and I'm maybe messing the quote up slightly, but you'll get the gist. He said, treasure those who seek after truth and fear those who find it. And I think that is what we face in the freedom movement. We have a whole bunch of people that are certain that they got all the shit. They know everything there is to know. And I'm telling you right now, I am a relatively well-read libertarian, if you want to call me a libertarian. I've read a lot of shit. And I don't know everything that there is to know. I guarantee it. I haven't read everything. I don't know. And even if I had read everything, some of this shit has to be put into practice. You've got to see it working out. So how the hell can I tell somebody else what's right and what will work for them when I don't really fucking know? Now, when we're talking about things like what we were talking about earlier with kids, I've raised 4 kids. I have a pretty decent idea what that means. So I can say, hey, you probably ought to try this or you might try that. But
I've only raised 3, but I'm still qualified, I think.
Right. But when you're talking about philosophical ideas, whether we're talking about religion or politics, does not matter. That shit is subjective, no matter how you get it. It's why, and for me, I can jam with anybody who is willing to say, I'm not going to call cops on your ass for doing something stupid, and you're not a shitbag because you're trying to help people. So I can jam with those people, you know?
Yeah, that's one of the most interesting things that's happened in the last year or so is a post-libertarian movement. I'm sure you guys have seen this. So one of my favorite people who is, I guess he's upset some people in the movement, Peter Quinones. I just some of the people I hold, keep company with have issues, but I still really do appreciate him because I like that he's willing to go and explore these new ideas. So since I've been following him, since he wrote that book, The Kids Aren't All Right.
Kids Aren't All Right. Yeah.
The meme book.
That's the meme book. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, who the hell is this guy? And then but you see him from like not a left libertarian, but I guess he called himself a LOL-bertarian, LOL-bertarian. But back then, but then he explores different ideas. He lets that die and then explores something new. And to me, he's kind of leading the forefront in that. And then you have other guys like Popular Liberty and then Matt Erickson, who's doing. I don't agree with what Matt says often, but I do like his thinking outside the box, or at least expressing this, because maybe it'll spark something in my brain.
No, Matt's the homie, man. Matt's I actually when Eastwood was born, they had I think they put together like a cookbook. So there's my fried turkey recipe is in that cookbook when Eastwood was born. So like Matt and Amy is his wife, and anyway, they're good people, and they're actually like I think they just converted to Orthodoxy.
Yes, and he's in Texas now, right? He moved down.
Yeah, they moved from Cali to Texas back, I don't know, like sometime late last year or mid-year last year, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I should have been moved around the same time as him because I remember following his little journey there.
Mm-hmm.
But the real estate here got all messed up. The guy that we were selling, but I respect that because he's doing his thing. Or man, who else? So his partner on the show, great, Buck Johnson, another one of these guys that are right libertarians. I really admire them from like afar because I like what they're doing, and I tend to think that way sometimes. So,
well, I'm not gonna lie. I have some bouts myself with that, like internally about, and we talk about it even like on the show and everything. Like I really, really despise the idea of statism. I also like can read reality and recognize that like we live in a society. No, not. But like there is a system that is like in place that is like running roughshod all over everyone's lives, and so in large part, I have to at least give a moment of thought to the idea that okay, yes. It would be great if we didn't have authoritarians and we didn't have people trying to run roughshod all over our lives, tyrants and all this nonsense, these oligarchs and everything through corporations and tax policy and the Federal Reserve System and all this other stuff doing all this shit. But they are. And there are ways to actually move the needle. And some of this stuff actually does matter. Like some of these, when there's a vote of like, are we going to jam the rod farther up your ass, or are we going to, relieve you for a little bit? I'm going to vote for like, can you relieve me for a little bit? I'm not going to be like, no, that's it. I reject the idea of this vote even taking place. So I'm not even going to participate. No, like I feel like, okay, you're going to make gambling legal in Louisiana. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'll go vote on that initiative. I'm not going to vote for a politician because they're scumbag, corrupt assholes who, unless it's one of our people, like where I know I can trust them to go in there and basically try to remove everything. Then I'm not. Damn, whose phone's buzzing?
I'm sorry.
The first time I thought I was like somebody just let one go, and then when it happened again, it was like when you hear a gunshot. It's like, okay, it was over there. No, it was over there. I was like, okay, I have identified that sound. It's not Nicco breaking wind, but it may have been his phone.
Look, I'm not even going to go down this funny road.
So I recognize that, like, okay, those guys aren't like entirely wrong in looking at this from a, hey, people generally like crave some authority to rule over them. So part of the problem is that we have, through our own cultural like debauchery and decay and our complacency, we have allowed the people who are willing to, the people who ran for student council and said, I'll just, with someone else's money, I'll make a vending machine available in every hallway and it'll be free and you just have as much candy as you want. Like those people have basically taken all the people who were like, sweet, free candy all the time, I'll vote for you. And then when we sit at home, we let the free candy people use our money to buy the vending machines to give the free candy out to everybody. And it's like, well, but wait a second, like I didn't vote for this. Right. And it doesn't matter that you didn't vote for it because the shit's happening anyway. So I get it. Like I actually kind of, I do in a way sort of feel, I don't know, a bit of an affinity to like, not necessarily like jump in full bore with that, but to at least recognize that there's some validity to it. And I do want to say, I want to shout out Jev. He's been in here the whole time. Jev actually wrote an article yesterday or the day before about like, he's got this indestructible mindset series that he's doing on our website, Men of Order. Shout out to menoforder.com. But he actually wrote one on like the value of like being wrong, like being okay with being wrong and like putting yourself out there and recognizing like, okay, what I'm in the hunt for truth. and I'm going to find the things that seem at least to be undeniable, but then I'm going to open myself up and allow myself some space for correction over time, because it's when we're so dialed in to something that we can't even see the forest for the trees, that's when we get ourselves in real trouble.
Facts.
Yeah, I always bring it back to like a musical analogy what you're talking about, but yeah, so some of my favorite music is like blues. Is blues, but like freeform jazz is just fantastic, because sometimes you'll see somebody play live and they'll just go, and it's almost like you're intentionally playing the wrong note every time that you can. Every single note that you play is wrong. But it's like, even if you give the most inexperienced guitar player a guitar and say, play the wrong note every time over the wrong chord, there's three notes that you can play over this chord and they will harmonize, but you pick the wrong one every time. It's like, what you're doing. You're doing this on purpose. And then every so often, maybe towards the 8th bar or whatever, they'll resolve it beautifully and then come back into some kind of a melody. And I think those people are some of the most talented. They're really thinking through the theory of what they're doing. And like we're saying, the people who are okay with making mistakes or being wrong sometimes and just kind of dancing around those lines are the most fascinating, because they are doing that. They're doing the footwork. They're reading. They're learning. They say, well, Marcus mentioned praxis, or use another word for it.
I didn't say praxis, but I know what you're going.
Yeah, praxis is okay. So here's the theory. Here's what Rothbard said. Does it work? Well, in 2019, it sounded nice, but then 2020 happens, and I say, maybe something else needs to happen here, right? So now let's start to explore some of these notes, that they said we're not allowed to play, and see what sticks. Yeah, that's a lot of what.
So that's an interesting place because one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was some of the stuff. I talked to the guys before. I was like, I think we should dig into some of, because there's been some pretty important major trending news topics this week. One of them, Elon Musk buying Twitter, and the other, which kind of dovetails very well with that one, the Ministry of Truth has been established. We have the Disinformation board Nazi lady.
She's scary.
When we look at this stuff and Section 230, and there's all these different things that are kind of intertwined. We've gotten to see in real time what the net neutrality stuff, and had that actually gone through a couple of years ago, because that was before all the vid stuff happened. Yeah, but if that had happened, that then turns this whole last. You thought it was bad with them deleting accounts and banning shit and everything. That shit gets even worse, because then their idea of neutrality is we've already seen what their idea of misinformation is. If you
girls neutral, they said so.
Yeah, if you said a bunch of stuff that has been provably false, it's still not misinformation. But if you said some stuff that's provably true, but it doesn't fit the narrative of the official narrative makers, it is misinformation. So how does that mesh for you? Do you see where I'm going with it? That having that viewpoint of, okay, in theory, this seems to work, but look at what we're dealing with. This, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world. Again, back to this idea of this shit exists. So operating in that system, is it the worst thing in the world to say, no, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to require people to get this shot that has not been proved? That's ridiculous. Because the flip side of that is they used the corporations as their enforcement arm of statist policy. You had OSHA that was going to require companies to require their employees. Well, that's the same goddamn thing. There's no difference between that and the government basically saying, yeah, we're coming to your door and we're going to inject you. The difference is only in name only. It's not in practice. It ends up being the same thing, because your choices are get that or go out on the streets and lose your house. Your family's homeless now, and you have to fend for yourself to feed yourself.
It's interesting to really think about too. So the libertarian argument of vaccine, COVID vaccine shots and all that, should we do it? Is it against property rights, or is it against liberty? If a private company, all this bullshit. And we spent like months arguing. I mean, I still see it flare up here and there, but we spent months talking about it and arguing it. And then I saw that lady, the Show Tunes lady that's doing this disinformation ministry. She said, I've been really quiet for the last few months, but this is what we've been working on. And I'm excited to announce it. And it's like, this is what, so we're arguing about COVID and they're already on the next thing. They've been working on this for how long? So,
and they've been trickling, they've been dripping their manipulation, their indoctrination scheme into the rest of common parlance, so that when they launch it, now it's like, oh, well, yeah, well, they've already convinced all your normie Facebook friends.
Yeah, we already have fact checkers, so it's just another thing.
It's just another fact check thing. Like, what are you worried about? Like, this is good. This gets disinformation is deadly, you know? Misinformation is medley.
You want people
That's what
to
I say.
Yeah. So I don't, again, we can argue about this stuff and we can talk about it all day. Can we change it? No. We can undermine it. We can ridicule it on here. And I think that's what my job is. I haven't really been doing it like as far as making the drawings lately, but I think my job would be to illustrate how ridiculous it is. And a good marker of how ridiculous it is how many people bought this shirt that they're going to wear this around that's openly mocking whatever you're talking about. And if you have a podcast and you guys are mocking it or even just bringing light to it, that's great. Or the comedy podcast that I do sometimes, like I said, it's crazy, but there's a reason why we're touching that third rail. There's a reason why they threw us off YouTube and all that stuff. It's because there's no way right now for us to openly take down these Hold on,
wait, boys.
No,
so let him finish his point. Let him finish his point, Nicco. Damn, man.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, but we are in a world full of not anarchs, but narcs. And if y'all over here narking with them, then let me tell y'all something. Y'all ain't throwing the $5 to the Patreon. Let me tell you something. Okay, I love you guys, and y'all love us.
We'll let you finish your point when Nicco's done, I guess. But,
go ahead. I'm interested.
Wait, did I?
You had your headphones off. You didn't hear us. It's all good.
Definitely look. Hey, don't be a narc out here. Hey, if you over here grifting off this beautiful network that we have right now, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You a narc. But if you don't want to be a narc, throw that $5 to the Patreon. Like, subscribe, 2 shares to speed the spread, baby. And then on top of that, show my man some love. Go check out his artwork and everything. And last but not least, we got one of the coldest artists in the game coming out. And he hit us with a dime. And that bitch is called Privilege from Cash's Cam. Go check that out. Number love.
All right. So as you were saying,
shameless plug.
Right.
Like,
For sure.
Like Reed Coverdale over here, man. This guy just drops in, do some plugs. I'll be surprised if he drops in right now. I won't be surprised.
He'd be welcome,
guy. No, don't let no.
Yeah, he's already been on. We don't. Yeah, I'm just Reed. You're welcome again anytime.
Actually, Reed's coming over to my house on Friday.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. He's flying in, so it's gonna be.
Oh, he's flying in? I would have just assumed that he had like a route that went through there or something like that.
Right.
No, this is a special
pull
event.
up the rig to your house. I didn't know what kind of setup you had.
Yeah, we're doing the comedy show with Robbie the Fire over here, so he's flying out. But damn, what was I saying?
I'm so sorry.
We were talking about this Ministry of Truth, how they already had their shit, the next thing lined up, and they already have it ready to roll out. We're arguing about this shit online.
I think we can't really take it down. Obviously, we don't have the political means to. I'm kind of conflicted on it. Like, I will. So the Disney and DeSantis thing, the latest thing.
Yeah, right.
Did you see my little scuffle with Carolyn Borisenko? She's running for mayor of New Hampshire.
Yeah, I remember. She tried to take down the Grifties back a while back. She had her people spam the Grifties nomination and voting process. Yeah, she tried to. She stayed up at the top for a while, but she just got completely ignored. That's the thing. Like when something like that happens, if you're not, because I'm part of that. That's our thing. We built that thing anyway. We have sort of authoritarian control over that shit. whoever we want to win the grifties is going to win the grifties. And the voting happens and the voting, works. But like, if it's some bullshit where you're like spamming the system to try to like overrun it with some bullshit, we're just going to ignore you. And we're not even going to say this person tried to game the system. We're just going to completely act like you don't exist. So you get nothing except for like on the poll, you get like your little thing. But yeah, I remember. Yeah, she's
so basically what the government does too.
Yes, yeah, she's yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Uh-oh, be careful.
Hey, look, but well, yeah. All right. Anyway, go ahead. So anyway, she's running for mayor, and you got into a kerfuffle with her.
Yeah. Well, what we say at Tower Power Hour is white woman must be stopped. So that's like whenever they pull their bullshit.
Definitely true.
That's actually why white woman is the #1 seed on our list. They're the number.
I see how white women is not going to win. Like that's
me neither.
But they must be stopped.
Must be.
maybe the
Fats, winner.
Maybe the Fats can take them down. If the Fats took down the Jews, they've got a chance against the white women.
I don't know how they did it, but yeah, God bless them, man. Yeah, cardio like it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know who's gonna take out the white woman, but the winner does get genocided at the end. So if they win, they lose.
Right.
All I gotta say, guys, is it was nice having a YouTube channel.
Oh shoot!
Right,
but anyway, so you got into it with Borsinko and
I'm just playing. I don't give a shit.
we were talking about the Disney DeSantis thing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, against authoritarian control and all this, I don't like the state. I don't like people using the state, especially to govern businesses.
Mm-hmm.
But what he's doing is he's basically taking away some of their rights, which are rights that I would want them to have in a libertarian society, which we don't live in, right? So they basically have autonomy over that part of Florida that they're in, like all those little lakes around there. They can build, tear down. Do whatever they want. They could put up a roller coaster. They don't need permits. They do their own thing. They're self-governing, and they undermined what he was talking about, which I believe in strongly too. That bill where you shouldn't probably be talking about sex to 8-year-old kids or younger, or probably kids.
I don't care what kind of sex it is.
Yeah,
like
kids in high school.
About heterosexual sex, we got that at home. Like we'll take care of it.
Teach my kids how to read. Like the
kids can't fucking read or compute math, and we're teaching them about fucking gender and all this other bullshit. And they still can't do basic shit to live.
They want nothing but single moms out here, G. No lie, they want nothing but single moms out here.
Yes.
If you really think about it, like promoting the idea of not wanting to be abstinent anymore, and like you're free, yes, but you're free when you get to a certain age because you're cognitively aware of the whole parameters of everything. But when it comes to why do high school students need to worry about fucking? They need to worry about going home, getting the books together, and getting ready if you're going to go down that college route or figuring out your career. Like that's what they should be focused on. And then we can go to college. Y'all can have all the fun y'all want. Freedom is there. But at the end of the day, it's poor how dumb we are.
It's
so
you don't realize you're at war. Like that's what a lot, most of us are not cognizant that we've been at war with these people for probably 20 years.
Longer than that.
Yeah. And we're just realizing it now. And still some people want to have their head in the sand or their eyes closed. It's like they hate you. They're openly attacking your children. Now, literally openly attacking your children. And we still want to give rationale as to why I should defend these people or why this shouldn't I don't care. And that being said, I guess I'm an egoist, but that being said, I said, I support Ron DeSantis doing this to Disney. I think it's hilarious. I'd love to see them squirm. If they fail, they fail. Will I bring my kids to Disney? Sure.
No.
No, I will. Under my supervision, they'll go to Disney because they will like it. And I don't give a shit. And honestly, you know what? My money is not even going to take down Disney because they'll be getting government subsidies to keep them afloat anyway.
Right.
But
that's the thing too, is that all that stuff is on we can't anymore separate that stuff. Like it's a private company. Like, no, it's not. Like none of these big companies that we're talking about are private in the sense that we mean private when we're talking about anarchy. Like they are subsidized by shit that's stolen from us every day.
They're an arm of the state.
That's all they are, is an arm of the state. Anyway, continue, because you were saying about you would take your kids there anyway, because if your kids enjoy it and it's under your supervision. Because I kind of vibe, like I feel sort of the same way. Like it's my $9 a month or whatever isn't going to take down Disney Plus.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? If my kids enjoy it, then I'm going to do it. And you call me a hypocrite or whatever. She was calling me a statist at first, because she's like, oh, well, you want to use the power of the state to punish. I said, I'm not doing any of this stuff. I just think it's funny. I think it's great. If they get taken down, they get taken down. I'd love to see them squirm. If they fail, I wonder what will take their place. But in the meantime, I also can't ignore the culture that is in front of our faces. Like we're as libertarians are constantly ignoring culture, and then we try to reach out to people in the mainstream, and it's like we're talking different languages. That's why they call us autists and all, because we're not. I really appreciate like Hotep Jesus, right? Not a libertarian, but values. I feel like he has the same values that I have, but also has one foot embedded in culture, deeply embedded in culture and moving culture. You guys have his hat on right now. You know, he's
a good friend.
Yeah. Yes, it's super important. It's super important. So we're just like ignoring this stuff. I don't know. I don't really know where we go from here.
Well, that's why we're doing this. Well, that's why we're doing both of these. But mostly like this, Men of Order is like it's specific, and we actually have some like internal debates. Jeff knows this. He's in the chats and everything. He's one of our big writers. He does all our Joe Rogan summaries and everything. But we're not trying to necessarily go pick fights with the alphabet community or anything like that. We are just going to be men and exist and be real men and just exist and be a magnet for young men who want to learn how to be real men who can fend for themselves and live on their own independent of this shit. And all that other stuff, to engage with it in a lot of ways ends up, I think, maybe conceding a bit of the battle to them. So what we are doing is, and I get it, like, the thing with like DeSantis and everything, I get it. Like there's a certain, if you can cripple part of their strength in the battlefield, yeah, by all means. But what I think is also very, very important is just building your own shit. And that's what you did with moving to Florida. It's like, you know what? Fuck this shit in New York. I'm going to go create my own little space where I can raise my family and not have to deal with all this bullshit.
Yeah, I want to
insulate them from it.
I want to kind of add to many of the things that y'all have talked about myself. First of all, I don't like condemn Disney at all. They can do whatever the fuck they want. That I want what they have at my house.
Yeah, I want to have that authority. I don't want to have permits. That's the thing too. Is like I want to not have to have permits.
Right.
I want to not have to pay taxes.
I want that shit here. And so I don't give a fuck what Disney does. I don't give a fuck what's going on in Florida. I don't give a fuck what's going on. I don't give a fuck what's going on in New York. I don't care. It is abysmal in the state of libertarian politics that we have to give a shit what someone outside of our state believes or our state is doing. This is nonsense. What we should be doing, in my opinion, is taking every step, like you did, to make that bullshit, that force, irrelevant. The only reason that Disney has a monopoly on so many things, because they have a big monopoly on a bunch of things, the only reason is because we keep giving them fucking money. We keep rewarding them for their bullshit. We keep doing that. We keep buying the same shit. We keep watching their stuff. Now, I agree with you. If your kids want to go to Disney, have a good time. All that's great. But when it comes to policies, when it comes to things like that, we need to stop engaging. Freedom is in the mind. It is not anywhere else. It's up here. You are free the moment, and this is Voltaire again, you are free the moment you decide to be. That is what it is. We are free. You choose to be free. Now, people are saying, well, somebody will throw you into a cage. Absolutely, somebody will throw me into a cage. But you know what? I allowed that. How did I allow that? I worked in a culture that thinks it's acceptable to put people who aren't harming anyone in a cage. And I didn't actively work against that. I didn't convince everybody to either vote or actively take their ass to the courthouse and tell them to go fuck themselves. It is time for us to stop talking and stop bickering and start doing. And I'm not talking about getting out and doing another January 6th or any nonsense like that. What I'm saying is take right. If we're gonna do a January 6th, we gotta do it right.
You gotta do it right.
Like all the
January 6th was an upset.
Right. So, but we need to stop allowing this shit take control of our lives. This is not about what we can or cannot do. A free person doesn't give a fuck if somebody says you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, see, so from one side, I'm being told that well, you can't do that. You can't, I can't have this opinion on Disney and think they're terrible, but then still do it. The way I see it is like you have a theme park and utilities that I can benefit from. So I'm just going to do that. Honestly, you know what? If I'm going to be the only person that's going to not enjoy myself or do what I kind of want to do because of this or that, it's like I don't know. Maybe you can call me deluded and I have no standards, but it's just kind of what I'm doing. I'm being completely honest with you guys.
Well, I mean, you're doing it for your kids. That just shows you how much you want your kids to have a good experience. Like,
also, Disney's dope, man. You ever been there? It's freaking cool, man.
No, I haven't.
I would say
in my mom's stomach.
Universal's better, but only probably when you're bigger. Like I think your kids' age, like Disney's probably better in terms. But I will say this, and this is what I told my brother because I have two brothers. They both have. One of them has 3 little girls that are under 6 years old, and the other one has 2 girls and a boy that are all under 6 years old. I would just say, like, just be careful and be aware and watch that stuff. Don't let them watch anything that you don't watch yourself. Yeah. That you at least don't like audit, from time to time, because there's some shit that's just like not cool. Like, I don't know if you are familiar, but like Disney Plus had this like a couple of months ago, put this new little Pixar movie out called Turning Red. Oh, yeah. And it's all about this girl going through puberty and having her period and all this other kind of bullshit and like fights with her mom over that stuff. But it's a Pixar movie. So like there's tons of parents who are just like, yeah, let's put little Johnny and Karen in front of the TV and let them watch that shit. And then it's like, Mommy, what's a tampon? And it's like, that doesn't need to be initiated by Disney. Yeah. That sort of shit does not need to be. And so and the other thing too is I'll say, if you look at Disney, there's a lot of people, we tend to think that this is like a new thing. This is like an old school Disney agenda. Disney from jump
from Pinocchio
has had like fatherless homes, motherless homes. Mm-hmm. It's always a single parent, always something where there's like some like wicked stepmother, wicked stepfather, some weird ass shit going on that's like not like a wholesome, reliable family structure. Yeah. And I can't help but think that like in a certain sense, it has undermined. I used to think like, well, this is cool because what they're doing is they're trying to make the people who have like divorced families feel better so that they don't feel alienated because they see all these, Warden June Cleaver type shit, on TV and they don't relate to it. They're just trying to make it relatable. But then when like every show was like that for a while, every show was like a broken family. I was like, I kind of feel like they're trying to break families. I kind of feel like, and that I'm talking about like when I was like 13, 14, 15, I was like, this kind of doesn't seem right. Like something's wrong here. And I wonder and then you start looking at like, if we are at war, all right, what do we want to do? We want to destroy the strongest part of the phalanx. Yep. First, break the phalanx, and then you penetrate you, you're in there, and you can just run roughshod. Yeah, okay, fine. But anyway, and what is that? That is the dad. That is the male. And what Disney doesn't do to kill the dad before the show starts, they do by killing the dad. I'm like freezing up, am I?
No, we're good.
Okay. Well, anyway, they kill the dad slowly through making him look stupid and incompetent and whatever other kind of BS, and emasculating him.
Clown.
The only so let me just say, my kids we don't even really watch TV at all. Me and my wife will watch TV at night just to turn it on and old Seinfeld or some shit. But my kids don't watch TV. They're outside. They're outside right now.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we got chickens. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to get out of New York. So it's like, yo, go outside, get dirty, just stay away from snakes or whatever. So
it's some snakes are good. You just gotta
teach
them how to identify the right ones.
Just
2 and 4, you're probably right.
I just shot a coral snake last week.
Oh shit! Are you serious?
I'll send you guys the picture later. Yeah, it's crazy shit.
Oh my gosh!
I seen him and I grabbed him with the rake. And I was like, oh, bam, 22, take him out.
Ooh.
Yeah. But
we've had a few. We have like some garter snakes and some water snakes. We've had one water moccasin. We live on a lake right here. My kids are actually, they spent the day, a wood duck just laid. And for whatever reason, because of the way that this lake is, it's got like high bulkheads. The mom just leaves. And so we have 7 little wood ducklings in the lake abandoned. So they've gone around. They went around in the boat and scooped them all up, and they're gonna nurse them for like a 3 weeks, and then get them to where they can live on their own. But anyway,
I just bought 2 ducks. Yeah, I got 16 chickens, and we have 2 ducks.
That's awesome.
And I got a lake in the back, but it's more like it's like a Florida lake. So it's like
Swampy.
I want to. It's just it's nice, but it's like there's a gator in there. I was out there at night.
Oh, for real? That's awesome.
I seen the eye. I was like, oh, there he goes.
You didn't want no gator? You didn't want no gator?
Nah, no.
Ranking 22 a gator?
No, that's not gonna do it.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, so the kids don't watch this stuff. They're familiar with what the characters are, and they like what the characters look like. We listen to some of the music in the car and stuff, so that's why they're familiar with these things. Where was I heading with that? Oh yeah. So, but the movies that I have watched, because I will like pre-watch them if we did.
Oh, that's good.
Watch. Yeah. So, I don't know, something like Moana, where you're talking about, or just I'm gonna pick the movies where I remember there are a mother and a father with the protagonist. Mother and a father. The father is in Moana plays the person that's completely wrong. He's the one that basically tells her not to do this or that, and he's kind of the fool in the story, even though he's the king or whatever it is. And then the other one, Luca, I don't know. That's like a new one.
I haven't seen that one. Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
It's a cool movie, but when you think about it, the father's played by Jim Gaffigan, and he's a complete cuck. The mother is, the mother is she's the leader in that relationship, and it's just funny how they continue to, if there is a father around, they'll undermine him completely and drive the culture to what they want there. So
Wait,
yeah,
question. Has this been relevant with newer Disney movies, or like just
that's new? Luca's
no,
probably.
No, I'm just saying like the idea. So if like we were to go to like the Little Mermaid, or if we were to go to like
all of them.
The Little Mermaid, same thing. The dad ultimately ends up being proven right, and like it ends up being somewhat heroic.
But there is no mom.
But there's no mom. The mom is gone and dead before the story starts. You don't ever see the mom. And the dad is what is created is this rift between the teenage daughter and the dad, and the daughter goes off to like, fuck whoever, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I mean, they don't do that, but that's essentially the thing. It's like, I'm going to run away, daddy, because you're an asshole. And I'm going to go cling to this guy who found me on the side of the road or whatever, like it's very Pretty Woman in a sense. And it's kind of that way.
Maybe that was like a movie in the 90s or something, and it did have not a conservative message, but at least it wasn't. If it was created today,
it would be super weird.
So
well, they recreated it in today. Harry Styles is like Prince Eric, and then they had like a black chick play.
So he's gay,
Ariel. Yeah, basically, like his hairstyles is like in a dress and shit. Like now they said they've done that, the whole thing with him. He's doing the Russell Westbrook fashion tip and everything. So yeah, it's weird. But I would suggest there's a service. It's a VidAngel. It's like Angel. I can't remember what but I can send it to you. But actually, I don't know if you're familiar with what's his name? Connor Boyack.
Yes. Yeah. I have his books.
The Tuttle so the Tuttle Twins, there's a cartoon series.
Oh, cool.
There now. It's really good. And it's like they have The Law by Bastiat as one of the cartoon, like it's all, and it's like it's really cool too, because if you're from, your parents are from Puerto Rico, is your wife Hispanic too? Or
no, she's Italian.
Oh, she's Italian. Okay. Because my wife's Cuban. So like, it's cool for us. Like because they have, it's like, I don't know which parent, but like their abuela is like, I mean, I don't know where they're from. I don't remember exactly, but their grandmother is their little abuela, and she's like riding around in a little cart and everything. And she's helping teach them some of the stuff, but her little lark that she drives around on is a time machine. And so they go back to like Bastiat and they visit him and stuff. It's really cool. And it's really well done. It's much better done than I would have expected. Like they actually really put some money into this thing and made it legit. Good. So, good. So there are some alternatives. I'm just saying, but like, there's some people who aren't trying to ruin your kids' lives, and control them. They're like, no, look, if you learn this stuff, you'll actually be free when you're older, instead of being a prisoner to this insane like oligopoly that we live in.
Okay. Yeah, no, send that my way. I definitely
for sure.
So to kind of take this a little bit different direction, I would like to know, like, when did you find out that you had some artistic talent and start applying it to your life and stuff?
So when I was young, probably since I started like writing, I guess, but my family is artistic, so they're musicians, they draw, some of them. And then baseball players are really well run because they're Spanish. So, yeah, you can throw a ball once you're old enough to walk. So yeah, when I was younger, I used to draw comic books with my cousin, and I've shared. Did you guys see the one that I did of? It's supposed to be me with I cut Bill Gates in half, and I'm like half lobster with the claws and all this stuff.
I haven't seen that one.
Okay, no. that was a crazy one. My cousin, I paid him to draw that for me. So he drew it and I digitized it. So that's the guy that we've always been drawing together, and his style is like real crazy different than what I would usually do, but I love it. So I did that with him when I was younger. And let me see if I can send it to you.
Yeah, send it to me. I'll try to throw it up on the screen if you can. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, and then when I was older in junior high school, I was in like art talent. So I did that for a few years, and then I did some private art school, but it was always like I didn't really want to do that, because I don't like I was telling you before, I feel like art shouldn't be restricted. If you're doing it, hopefully you can do it and make it look good, or make it look how whatever you're picturing in your mind.
Right.
But when you have a teacher, and sometimes they kind of want to direct you this way, or this is wrong, that's wrong, and it's kind of like, it was annoying at the time. At the time, everything was like still life and things like that, and I was more into the human form, and like anime was big for me at the time. And then now it's big, so now they're actually in the schools. They're teaching this stuff in the schools. But when I was drawing it, they were like, "This is wrong. What are you doing? Eyes don't look like that.
Eyes are wrong." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like, you don't understand, senpai.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that's kind of like my progression, but I never like tried to monetize it or do anything with it. It was just something I could always do. And then I decided, I think the first piece I did was the Libertarian Tupac Dave Smith, where he's holding up the skunk cans and stuff.
I know the one, yeah.
And he used that. He sold it he put it on a shirt and did a limited run, and it did well. So I was like, oh, there's something here, and I just been grinding ever since. And
how long does it take you to do one of those, like where you did, because I know you do like the guests for Josh and stuff like that, like how that's a lot of work, like rapid fire, because there was a stretch there where he was like just popping out episodes like every other day damn near, or more.
that stretch. So we had, I mean, you have to tell me, I told him, you got to tell me in like weeks in advance or 2 weeks in advance who you got, and I can work on it. And it got to the point where like drawing, if I wanted to draw any one of you guys, I can do it fairly quickly. If I have like a good reference or an idea in my head, I can draw you because I have the technique down with the program that I use now. There's a certain technique that I'll use to draw. It's like do a quick sketch on Procreate, move it over, and then vectorize you and enhance the features that I think should be enhanced. So thank God for Josh, because we did, I mean, man, I did like 100 or something, probably 150.
You honed your skills real quick.
Yes. Yeah. And we were just like working. So I did it. I was able to become economical, but a lot of the times it's the idea. So like drawing for Odyssey right now, sometimes the pieces will come a little slower because the ideas, if I'm not familiar with the creator, I'm like, I have to study them, and then it really all depends. But I become a little bit economical, at least with the portraits of people or like a standard picture.
I'm really impressed by what you do. I mean,
thank you.
Not just because of the raw talent of being able to catch somebody, but often and like for instance, the thought of mixing Wolverine with Adam Kokesh, that's perfect. Like that makes sense. You capture often like something about that person, and it really brings out some of their personalities, and some of it, like for instance, for people that until recently had been following Adam, they might not have seen
that. You had to do it, didn't you, Marcus?
I'm sorry.
That's how that's actually how Marcus and I met. Was we were working on Adam's campaign in 2018, and so that's how we met. Right. And anyway,
so
I won't get. We don't need to spend a whole lot of time on that, but I have been disappointed in the last several weeks. But anyway, we'll continue.
So I agree with Adam about 95% of the things. Being a shitbag for the last 2 weeks is one of the 5% I do not agree with. But he's still a great friend. But my point in what I was driving at was that at the end of the day, you captured something in Adam that, like Chad and I knew. Because we know Adam, as a person, we see that Wolverine.
The claws came out this week,
right?
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
They were a little duller than I thought they'd be, but they were out.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we're all about bringing people together, and I'm not going to call nobody. I'm a fat dude, so I'm not going to call people fat. I'm not going to be mean to people. It's just who I am. I'm going to be as best to people as I can, and if I'm fighting libertarians, sorry, just to cover it briefly, if I'm fighting libertarians, I'm doing something wrong because the libertarians, regardless, I think that Nick Sarwark is one of the biggest pieces of shit that has ever worked the planet. That's why I blocked him, because I don't want to deal with him. I'm not going to fight libertarians. I'm not going to do it. My enemy is the state. But that being said, you brought something to Adam that captured that, and from knowing Adam, I see it. And so how do you, is it something you feel, or is it just you just let your hand go?
So it's usually an idea. So I'm a fan of Adam, or I was, until I still am. I like Adam, even though we had some words.
You were really funny on this when y'all were going at it on the Tower Gang. That was like, I can't remember what you said, but he like tried to say something. You're like, oh, you waited this long to load that one up or whatever, and then you like came back. I don't remember what you came back with, but it was something. Shit, I don't remember. You had me rolling.
Because listen, on that show we're doing culture, and I knew right away. I'm like, okay, he's gonna come with criticisms of the Mises Caucus, which I have quite a few, but. I'm like, that's cool, but we're not here for that. We're here to see which group we would like to genocide. So whenever he was getting serious, I was like, this is not what this is about. This show shows, the R word, or I don't want to get you guys banned. That's what this is about. Like, calm down. And just to throw him off kilter and be like, all right, listen, we're joking here. Because I think he's funny. I was like, just be chill. And I think the fat thing is hilarious too. But if he's doing it like in a mean spirit, it's kind of messed up. But it's like, If you
all I
just
know,
shit posting, it's like, all right.
dude, all I know, and again, I'm not trying to get into Adam for a long period of time because I can still consider him a very good friend. All I gotta say is I am not a tiny person. I am not a vegan. And we've been friends for like 4 or 5 years. So I don't know if you noticed. But so there's that. But back to art.
Yeah, so how I like encapsulated, yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm insane. Sometimes
we're all insane.
yeah,
Yes.
like
Yes,
Josh would be like, we're doing this person, and he doesn't necessarily give me an idea. So sometimes I'll be like, what do you think about like what did I do? Scott Horton and geez, I'm forgetting his name, from the 10th Amendment Center. Oh yeah, the Pepe Scott Horton one was fun to do, because if you meet him in real life and you see him going off on people too, like he just like he is on podcasts, he'll hold a sermon right there and 3 a.m, and he's talking about Middle Eastern affairs from 1997, and he's like, and this and that, and if there was like, sometimes I'm thinking, I was like, if there was a chart behind him, there would be like red lines pointing to what happened here, and he's smoking a cigarette and just going crazy. So I'm like, oh, this is Pepe Sylvia. So I'm like, right away, like that, just pops in my brain. I'm thinking it's like, maybe it's like a meme thing. So I'm just basically memeing and then making like, I'm over memeing because I'm like drawing like legit art that takes a while to do. It's kind of stupid if you think about it, but it seems to have worked nicely for me.
For sure. And again, you have wonderful artwork, and I wish that I could do what you do, because memes are something I do. I make a lot of memes. I put out a lot of quotes from various people, from historical people to I've done Adam like crazy. I make a lot of memes. Bro. Well, hey, baby. He is awful cute, especially without a shirt on.
Anyway,
have you seen the one I did with Hotep Jesus? Like that one?
Yes.
That was cool.
That was excellent. Yeah.
So I did another one of him too when he was coming on Buck Johnson's show, where he's like Moses holding the 10 Commandments, but they were like,
wow.
What did I write on them? It was like the man commandments, and it's just like, I don't know. For him, it's easy because like there's a lot of material. If I'm familiar with this, I'm like, I can make something funny that'll be, flipping over a blue check table like Jesus at the.
Now he's got a blue check.
No, that was
now he's got it.
The flipping the tables was like one of the most epic. Like that was like I hope he has that like framed somewhere or something like that. He's got to get it framed. If y'all got to get that set up, because that shit was epic. Because that's exactly that's perfect. That's the perfect depiction, I think,
for sure.
Especially when you read the Patriot Report.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
So with your art, do you think I like to throw us into weird tangents and stuff. Do you think that's God-given, or do you think it's something you learned? And where do you fall with religious stuff? I mean, are you a religious person? Are you into spirituality at all? That's something else we cover on this channel quite a lot. But where are you at with all that?
Is it God-given? I think that maybe some things are God-given, right? Because some people, like my dad, can't draw a straight line. He could barely, when he writes, like, just regular on a paper, it's like, I can't even read this. It's like so crazy. So he could never draw but some people can't. I think that you're given an ability, and then it's up to you if you want to cultivate it. So like, I don't know, I have an ear for music, but if I didn't practice guitar and study theory, I'd be trash, right? Because it's just like, I didn't, maybe God gave me this gift, but I didn't put anything into it. So you're not going to get anything out of it. And that kind of answers the next question. Am I religious? I went to church today. I met my wife at church. I used to play. That's how I met her, playing in the band at church. But I don't know. I think religion or my faith is another thing. I don't like to put inside of a box. Like, I belong to this church. This is my denomination. Although, like, predominantly I'm a Pentecostal Christian. Those are the churches that I've been going to. But
Interesting.
Yeah, I take what suits me and I put it on, and I live my everyday life as if there is a God. So I do believe in God. I believe in Jesus and stuff. You'll never see me push it on you. I'm still gonna say wild stuff online or even to my friends. That's just who I am. I'm not gonna change it. One of the things I hated about church was like, they're like, well, you can't say this, you can't say this. Like, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it anyway. I can't stop saying it. So I'm like, I'm just not gonna be ashamed of it. And if you don't want me to come here, then I guess I won't. But I still believe in Jesus. I think he died. I think he came back. So that's where I'm at.
Nice. Pentecostals are actually one of my favorite favorite and least favorite of my my favorite and least favorite.
That's every type of Christian, Marcus. Every type of Christian is your favorite and least favorite. Come on.
No, that's not true.
Good.
I like Catholics pretty evenly. I like Methodists pretty evenly. But with Pentecostals, I really like what y'all do. Like, I like the dancing, and I like the speaking in tongues, getting possessed by the Spirit. I'm all about that shit.
But there's levels. There's levels to it too, though. Like, so I don't go to that. I used to go to a church like that.
No snakes.
Yeah, no snakes, no. But like, no, there is like, it's, there'll be exuberant music. People will be joyous if they so feel, and maybe there is. I don't know. It's just for some reason the last two churches I've been to, that just kind of wasn't the vibe there. But if it is, I was like, okay, I guess whatever. Yeah.
Wait, moving from like Florida, or moving from New York to Florida, is there like, I would say, a difference in their tone and how they deliver certain things?
You mean in the church?
Yeah, in the church.
Yeah, the pastor has a southern accent, which makes him really nice to listen to. I would say that they are more politically inclined to. I know how this guy votes in Florida.
Okay.
In New York, I knew the guy personally, and I knew how he voted personally, but if you just went and heard the message, he has to be very careful about what he says, because people there are obviously going to
report him.
Not report him, but yeah, to the ministry of truth. Yeah, no, they just won't come. They'll, it's just funny because his COVID policy, he was one of the first people to get COVID. Like, when he got it, I was terrified for him, because like, we thought people were still falling down in China and shit,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he got it, he was fine. And his COVID policy afterward was like, they had to listen to what the police were saying to shut him down, but they were still doing services, they were doing everything. He was like, listen, the whole time masks are optional if you want people still wore them, but so that, even that right there, they're like, oh, he's a right winger, and like, then
it's so funny that they think
attendance.
that like if you want to wear a mask, you can, but you don't have to. They think that's authoritarian fascism.
It's hilarious, isn't it?
It's like, what? Like, that's your idea of right wing? Like, okay, all right.
That's how bad it's become. It's just a signal, even though it's common sense, where he's like, hey, you can, if you feel comfortable. I think they were doing 2 services. They were like, listen, if you don't like this one, the next service is for people who really just want to have the mask. So, good for him. He's trying to preach the message first and foremost, but you're telling people which side you fall on, whether you like it or not. That's how polarized the world has become. So yeah.
And I think that's on purpose. This is all divide and conquer, but nonsense. But the thing I dislike about Pentecostals often is exactly the opposite of what you said. So you're not one of those kind of Pentecostals, because generally they are very fundamentalist, and this is the way it is. And if you don't believe that, then you can't do anything else. And I'm not a Christian. I think Jesus is awesome. I think he's fantastic dude. Definitely God, really cool guy. I'm just not a Christian. I don't think that the Bible's infallible and all of that. So I like Jesus. I think he's
I would
cool.
argue that if you go back to the original Christians, they would not argue that the Bible is infallible, because none of them had a Bible yet. But anyway,
Right.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, and to be
The Bible
clear,
didn't exist yet.
the
Yeah.
old Christians probably adopt my ass. The old Christians be
Yeah.
like, "What do you mean you're not a Christian? You like Jesus? You come on in, get a seat back in the back."
Think about how far we've fallen from the Constitution and our founding fathers to right now, and then think about the Bible and what those people what they originally meant when they wrote this. You know,
Yeah.
it's, and I mean, this is thousands of years later if you believe the chronology. So we know right around 1776, 1800, this is like when we got this paper, and it's look at where we're at from there. So imagine the Bible, how much that's been diluted. I've gotten into arguments, or I've left. Well, I got kicked out of a church for exactly what you said. You know, it's very much like my way or the highway, and I was like, well, then I've told off pastors because I'm not going to stop not saying what I think.
Because you're free.
Well, all right. So I'm going to read.
Yeah, apparently.
I'm assuming everyone is familiar with this passage, but just to give an indication, because this is not like some ancient, like 3rd century AD translation into English or anything like that. Because let's be honest, I don't think was the Bible even translated into English yet at that point. No, I don't think so. But anyway, just listen to this, and I want you to, at the point that you realize what I'm reading, raise your hand and let me know what I'm reading. The Lord directs me, and nothing will be lacking to me. He has settled me here in a place of pasture. He has led me out to the water of refreshment. He has converted. Somebody raised. Okay, so where are we?
I believe that you are reading the Lord's Prayer.
No.
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 Okay, continue then. I was wrong.
He has led me out to the water of refreshment. He has converted my soul. He has led me away on the paths of justice for the sake of his name. For even if I should walk in the midst of the shadow of death, I will fear no evils, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they have given. It's Psalm 22.
Yeah,
I knew that.
I
just
translations
I
there's so many different.
I'm a non-Christian.
But my point is, there's so many different translations that, like, the one that I know is like, though I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And it's what is it? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That's how it starts off. It doesn't start off, the Lord directs me and nothing will be lacking to me. Like, all right, so at what point, like, I want to read the original Greek or Hebrew or whatever. I don't even remember what the Psalms are written in originally. Is it Greek originally?
Yeah.
So, like,
the Bible was written in Greek first.
Huh? Well, no, there's some of this stuff that was written in Hebrew before Greek.
It was written in Greek first. Look it up.
Are y'all about to do this? Y'all doing this right now?
I'm just saying, like,
debate night.
Like even the old Jewish stuff that's in the Torah, like that
doesn't get published until much later.
Well, no, but it was spoken and
written down by hand. It wasn't published.
Well, no, but what? Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is, like, to go back to the actual original language.
But if you're getting a Torah, it's going to be different depending on who wrote it.
Right, but but my point is, like, what word? At what point did it become about a shepherd?
Well, this is the argument that I made.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's where, like, some of this stuff gets, like, weird for me, like, where it's like, man, we're trusting some people to translate stuff for us and not twist shit. Anyway, Go ahead. What were you saying?
That's the point that I make, that I get into contention with people who are, you go to church too, and I just don't even bring this up to people in church because there's no reason to have this argument. But you could read the Bible and we can get caught over the words of, is it the shepherd, or did God lead him in that I do not want, or did he lead me through pastures, or was it like a brick road? It doesn't matter.
Right.
What you're reading here is for the message. So I'm not sure if Jonah was eaten in the belly of a whale. I don't know. You
weren't there.
I wasn't there. It doesn't matter. What is the story telling me? It's a parable. They're telling you how to live, and there's a reason why it's one of the oldest books in creation, and why people still read it, because there is value in there. So when it's a libertarian argument, when we're getting caught up on the minutia of a lot of bullshit,
a lot of times,
we're arguing about different aspects of theology. I'm like, do you understand the message here? There's like Cain and Abel. Tremendous story. We can argue about, did Cain raise the proper cattle, or what was his
right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So what are you being told here? What can I derive from this story?
Mm-hmm.
That's how when I read the Bible or when I listen to some of these messages, my time is more usefully put towards what can I get out of this? Like maybe I'm an egoist. What is this to me? I don't care about what it is to you. I don't care about, like, you could be a Christian. All you guys, you can believe, you could not believe. Reed Coverdale he's an asshole, but he's an atheist. I don't care. And I'm not, if he's interested, maybe you want to come to church with me. If you're not, okay, this is personal to me.
Right.
That's what my dad always told me. I was like, people are worried about the evangelical side of it. He's like, this is personal to me. He has a relationship with God. And I look at my dad and I see how he lives every day. And maybe it's a consequence of his relationship with God. Maybe it's a consequence of his upbringing. I don't really know. But, I guess I'll just do my best to emulate whatever I think he's doing or whatever result I want to see at the end. That's
gems, man.
Yeah,
that's true. And that's why I think I've fallen more towards the I read more of like the writings and the lives of the saints than I do of, and not to say that I don't, because there's a lot of like mention of scripture and things like that, but it's I think it's folly to get caught up on some of this, because and I brought this up before, but I'll bring it up again. My baby brother, who he teaches like sexuality stuff,
great guy,
from like a biblical perspective all over the world. But he talks about it. He says it's not even a book. People describe the Bible as a book. It's a book because we put it in one bound thing, but it's a library. Like Bible literally means library. It's got a bunch of different styles of books in it.
In Spanish, it's called a biblioteca.
Yes. Right. So you can't say like that you can interpret every word of it the same way, even. Like Psalms is poetry. Song of Solomon is poetry, and it's about a lot of sex. Like there's a lot of sexual stuff in there, and there's also some like I don't know, genealogy books in there. And there's some legal books in there. There's like there's historical reference books. There's self-help books.
There's mystical books.
There are mystical books. There are books about legends and myths and
the mystical ones they've been deleted. Those are
those are the.
I don't know. Revelations and Daniel are pretty.
For sure.
But there are a few others. I forget the names of them that are very interesting. Like this stuff. It's fun to talk about, like the Nephilim and things like that too. Like I love that stuff. Yeah.
Right. No, but that's some like. That's some legit stuff like that. But anyway,
that's my jam.
Then there's also like some of the stuff that like got removed from like the Catholic Bible, that like the books of Maccabees, that has like the Maccabean revolt where they're revolting against Antiochus, and that's where like Hanukkah comes from. And it's like, well, how do you like take out the thing? I don't know. It's just weird to like not have this.
Need that.
like that book doesn't need to be in there. We don't know why they celebrate Hanukkah, but whatever, anyway, it's just kind of bizarre.
One of the worst books ever made is the Book of Job. So again, did that really happen to this guy? Because what an awful story. I mean, the guy kills his wife, his cattle, destroys his land. I think he gets sick at some point just to see if he'll, and it's like, man, why does God do all that stuff? But
God didn't do it. God just allowed the devil to do it. But anyway,
why would God allow the devil to do that?
Right.
It's just. But then the part that always bothers me is like at the end, he's like, well, then I gave him a new wife and I gave him more kids. It's like, I like my wife right now, and I like my kids. Like, give me like, oh, you got better kids now. Fuck those other kids, even.
I think too, though. A lot of times, I think when because I'll just speak for me. I've gotten into that. Attachment to this world and to the people, the physical realm that I'm occupying right now. And I think that the for me at least, the larger message there is that our relationship with God isn't about our wife and our kids. It's about the souls of our wife and our kids that we will live with in eternity in union with God. And to be attached to it now and to allow the forces of evil to trick us into compromising eternity for the immediate, for the physical, for the immediate gratification. that's why the whole world is in the trouble that it's in, is because we have disconnected eternity from the immediate. We have said, no, I want this, whatever it is right now. Like just the abortion issue. Like we have people who are way too okay with murdering their own child because they don't want to have to deal with the financial hardship or not being able to go to concerts or whatever the fuck else they want to have.
This is low time preference argument. That's Or Jordan Peterson said it actually a few years ago. One of the names of his chapters was "Do what's meaningful, not what is expedient."
Nice,
very important. Yeah,
for sure. And talking about the parts that got deleted from the Bible and stuff, I suggest this to everybody. If you have not had the chance to read the Gospel of Thomas, please do so. It was deleted from the Bible, and my opinion is this. Now I'm going to misquote it, but this is a paraphrase of what it says towards the beginning, and this is the reason that I believe it was omitted. When you're trying to establish a global church, this isn't going to work real well.
It said COVID was created in a lab, so they
yes, it did, and then they kicked it right the fuck out. It was
you have to delete this tweet,
right?
And then you can have your account back,
right? For sure. But in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus says, and like I said, this is going to be close, but he says that the kingdom of heaven is not to be found in buildings of wood and stone, but it's to be found in the human heart and in the air that we breathe. And that idea that God and the kingdom of heaven isn't in some building where it isn't going to work for organized religion, but man, it works real good for a mystical experience in union with God. That works real good for that. And why that one in particular, I suggest to people, one, because it's not that far off of canon. It's not that different from what's typically written, but it's also the oldest of all of the Gospels. It is written initially, the one they have found. They've actually, I think, found two, but it was found. It is the oldest, and it was written in Aramaic, which was the language that if Jesus was real, it would have been the language that he spoke in Galilee at the time. So it is the closest that we can prove exists of what Jesus actually said. And it's not gone through a bunch of translations. It's not been changed and altered in a bunch of different ways. The only translation has been from the Aramaic into English. And so I really suggest it because it really captures what I see as Jesus, which is the Lion of Light who came to set the world free. And that's found in that book. So I just throwing the plug in for the Gospel of Thomas.
That's how I feel a lot. That it is, like for a long time I didn't go to church, and people are like, oh, you got to go to, like maybe not. Maybe it's kind of like you said, it's in your heart, whatever you're thinking, whatever you feel. But there is something about going to church every so often, and I think it's about the community. So to kind of bring this back to the whole libertarian thing. It's important that we build a community, that we build our own culture together, because if we're kind of Hotep and build, if we're like in our own separate corners of America or the world doing our own things separately, there's not really I don't know, there's just something strengthening and something
well, that actually falls into their strategy of isolate and marginalize, and then you just pick people off one by one that way, whereas the more we're united together, the more, and it doesn't mean we have to be united in everything, but we have to at least be able to put small differences aside long enough to be able to survive against people who literally, like, as Michael Heiss would say, they're all too willing to napalm children. So, like, this is not the person who's arguing with you on Twitter about the principles of libertarianism is not the enemy who is is the real enemy.
And I get caught up in that too. I argue with people, and then sometimes you're like, "Oh, God, he's so annoying."
Right.
But then you meet them in real life, like you go to like a Tom Woods event or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, these people." It's like these are my people. They're cool as shit. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what it is. Like if you're here, you're my people. I know, like you keep saying, you don't want to throw me in a box. We share 90%, 95% of the same values. That's your community.
Yep.
Hotep and build, or Mises and build, or whatever the hell you got to say to yourself.
Right.
Even these bitch fuck cucks like Nick Sarwark, he's a douchebag, but I guarantee you have more in common with him than some of your own family members who might think you're disgusting, for what you think. And it's just unfortunate, like how I think Trump broke a lot of these people, man. They've lost their minds.
For sure.
No, I think a lot of these people were already broken. Trump was just the little pushover that the government needed on us. Like, to be honest,
he exposed the cracks.
He exposed it, and he most definitely showed how oblivious people are to actually paying attention to what's relevant.
Sure. I think to begin wrapping up, I think one of the best quotes that kind of encapsulates this is one of my favorite anarchists. Her name is Voltairine de Cleyre. She said, and this is a quote, I called it up. She said, "Every anarchist, as an anarchist, would be perfectly willing to surrender his own scheme directly if he saw that another worked better." And I think that kind of sentiment is what we're talking about when we're talking about these issues. Is I don't know that I'm right about everything. I don't, believe it or not. I don't know. But these ideas make the most fucking sense to me that I can get out. Show me something better. Please. I want to not have to fight this shit all the time. I would love to be able to just take a nap and take a moment to not be fighting for freedom for a moment, but I can't because these people are trying to murder and steal from me.
A lot of the reason why I did so, why I feel the way I feel now, especially about the whole Disney thing we were talking about, all this stuff. It's just like, you know what? I'm out of New York. I've taken myself out of this hellhole where literally
you practically live in Disney now.
Yeah, but
you're like, yeah, this might not be bad, man. I might not have to get a permit.
It's the stress and the pressure of New York, like the traffic, the people, even from my job, just all kinds of like this stupidity. I'm like, I'm out of there. I'm leaving that. And you know what? I'm just gonna I have to enjoy myself because I was I was stressed out and I felt like it was affecting my health at some point. I was getting anxiety and I was like, you know what? I just can't anymore. So I'm going to do what makes me happy. And I don't really care what anyone else thinks, but yeah, it's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I have to do what works for me. Not a political scheme, but what works for me right now. And that's what we're going to have to go with.
But if more people did that, if more people took a greater deal of ownership of their own situation, a lot of this other stuff wouldn't even matter.
It would just feel off.
The fact that people have I don't know, they've delegated that authority to other people, and then they're like, wait a second, I didn't. Yeah, you did. You gave them that authority. Like when you abdicated your abdicated your responsibility, you. I've been reading a lot about abnegation, so that word slips in. When you abdicated your responsibility, you gave that responsibility to someone else. And now that someone else, when it's time to pay the piper, they're like, yeah, so remember that shit that you didn't want to do? Well, we did it, and this is what it's going to cost you. And so people get upset about that, but like, no, we have a responsibility. And that's why, again, I go back to the and I'm not trying to like play a victim card or anything like that. But the attack on masculinity, on men, is directly targeted at that. It's not those of us who are pointing this out. We're not the problem. Like, we're not the reason why this shit is the way that it is. But we can recognize that the people who have been taken out by it, that they've been taken out by it on purpose. Because the best way that you can subjugate a whole population is by cutting the nuts off of the men.
For sure.
Another one interesting thing that I think about, because that's always in the forefront of my mind. It's like a masculinity thing, but a lot of the opposition that I do see, even though it's run by the state, it's like this is very feminine, like weak feminine energy. The attacks that are being, laid upon us constantly, it's stuff that a high school girl would do to another high school girl.
Yes.
It's not man shit. Like, if we got a problem, Chad, and it's got to go to blows, we fight right after. We'll be like, all right, whatever, we're done. That's like masculine energy, butt heads, squash it.
Yeah.
This is something different, but it also can't last. Like, you could see their depravity and desperation. Yeah, when I see, like, so their ministry of truth and all this stuff, fun to make memes about, slightly concerning because it's very 1984-ish, but I'm like, you're desperate. You're completely desperate. This is in response to maybe Elon buying Twitter, or you just losing control of this culture war, because they were trying to start this before. You're losing. So I'm just going to sit here and watch it. I'm just going to keep ignoring you too. That's the best thing. Like, ridicule you, and I'm still going to do this over here. I guess I'm a federal criminal doing some of the things I do, but okay.
Nicco had his narc hat. I might as well throw this one. I wore this to Hotep Nation weekend, so I might as well. No, just
honestly, the way shit is going now, you're at some point you're all criminals. You have broken the law, because there's so many laws about dumb shit.
Yeah.
But it's like, what am I supposed to do?
You know how many times I jaywalked in Chicago, man?
What's that? Isn't there a book about like 3 felonies a day? That's like the average that we commit every day, and we don't even know it.
A crime a day. Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's the average, I think, is 3 felonies a day that, like, we don't even realize that we're and it's just like, that just shows you how it's set up to be like, if we wanted to enforce this, we could. Like your like tax week, tax day was like a couple of weeks ago or whatever. Like, there's so much of that stuff that, like, I was talking to the lady that does my stuff. She was like, they told me that, like, because I do so many people's taxes or whatever, that they can come and audit these signatures that they have for, like, different things, to verify that you did the shit that you said you did or whatever. She's like, they told me they can come audit me for this. Oh, I know what it was. It was like, I was out of town doing it because she's in another town like 3 hours away. And so I had to have like a document that my wife, it was okay for me to sign for her and everything. And she's like, as long as I have this stuff, like, it's cool. I don't have to send it off or anything like that. Or no, she didn't even have to keep it. She just had to see it. That's what it was. And she's like, they told me that they would come and, like, they could come and audit me for that stuff. But she's like, they don't even have time to, like, process the shit that they have. Like, it literally comes down to, like, that's why some of the people who did get targeted over the last 5 years, it's legit targeting, because they don't have the resources. Like, if you wanted to, you could lie about 50 grand every year on your taxes and get away with it if you did it right, and they would never even notice
until you
say something they don't like, and then they'll be like, pull that dude's social security number.
Yeah, that's why the SEC is investigating Elon Musk. That's why what's the government agency that they're suing? Library and Ripple. I forget it might be the SEC as well. Yeah, they suck. But so they've noticed a little rift in the matrix. Library is shaking things up with free speech and data storage, and they're attacking them at any angle that they can. So that's what they're there for. And it's, I don't know, I just can't I can't live my life like constantly like this. So I got to do what makes me happy. Yeah.
Well, and I'll say this too about, we talked about it before about, like, Elon, so it's cool. Like, I think it could be cool for Twitter to and we've already seen some of the effects that it's starting to open up a little bit more, but hopefully it will, and that'll be better. But I will say, like, one of our other friends, Cyprian, formerly Vin Armani, like, he was talking about how, like, we got to be careful. Like, there are a lot of people who were working on projects, free speech platforms and things like this, that they stopped their work because Elon Musk, or they may be in the process of stopping whatever they're working on, because, like, oh no, Twitter's the place. Let's go to Twitter now. And so instead of actually making the
centralizing,
instead of making the next thing, you may be stepping into a honeypot, because I don't know, like, this thing may last a couple of years, but who knows what happens if they like crack down and Musk is just like, yeah, you know what? It was fun while it lasted, but they closed that door when they came in, and they told me what sort of the same thing that happened to Twitter when it happened to Twitter 5 years ago or whatever. Twitter went from the wild, wild west to like 1984 dystopia type shit real fast.
The thing about Musk, and I got to throw this in here with this particular subject, is that he has already said that he will follow whatever law the local government has, whatever law they put on it. So a bunch of fucking statists went, nice, all right, so that means we need to write a law. Cool. Earlier today, I said, so they'll just write an unconstitutional law. And you know what they call that in Washington, D.C.? Tuesday. So, I don't know. I hope
call it law,
right?
Unconstitutional or not, it still becomes law in a lot of cases.
Right.
I think we don't know his intentions. We don't know his motives for buying this thing. I tweeted, he's red meat for the right, So just beware. But hey, if you're gonna open up the algorithm, if you're gonna be chill, then whatever. I'm gonna ride it, but
I'm gonna ride it, yeah. But
yeah.
I'm gonna be watching my 6 too.
I'm watching you. I'm not putting a freaking chip in my brain, Elon. No way.
Sure. So to bring all of this together, I did think of a quote that I thought brings us all together and kind of gets to the message that all of us have kind of been talking about. And this is an unusual place to find a quote, but that quote is by Aleister Crowley. And I think that all libertarians or freedom-loving people, they might call themselves Republicans or whatever, can agree on. We can all come together around this one quote, and that is, repeal all laws which assume that mankind is a herd of cattle. And if we could just get behind not being a herd of cattle, which is what we're talking about, whether you're talking about the people controlling what happens on Twitter, or you're talking about what you have to put into your body, or wearing a mask, or any of the nonsense that they're doing, we're humans and we're adults. Stop fucking trying to control my goddamn life. I am not cattle, and I am not owned by you. It's that simple. So let's throw that out there. So as you go forward, man, what's next for Top Lobsta?
What's next? I am going to continue to do a homestead here. Try to be as self-sufficient as I can as the world collapses. Although I don't think it's not going to get as bad as we warned, but it's going to get weird, I think, in the immediate future. I'm going to continue to do artwork, which I have to do. Continue to make T-shirts, continue to influence culture. I'm working on like doing animation. It's very hard. It's a very hard segue to get into because the programs seem similar, but they're vastly different. And I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing and talking to the people that I talk to. Very interesting people like yourselves, and
thank you.
And keep learning. Yeah.
So Nicco, you got any last thoughts?
One, we glossed over this, and I didn't want to take us into a segment or a tangent. But what's your favorite anime?
Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, respect.
Yeah, I mean it's standard, but Dragon Ball Z. It's the first one. Yeah, first one I went to, and I was like, damn, that's it. Yeah.
Also, where can I buy your T-shirts? I'm fairly sure they have the
link below.
I tried to pull the site up, and I can't. Chrome reset the last time I did, so like it's still asking me for permission to screen share, so I can't pull up the screen share. I'm gonna have to like redo that the next time we get off, and I keep forgetting to do it. So anyway, my apologies. I know you sent me the link. I tried tirelessly to do it. Y'all probably saw me like glitching and everything while I was trying to do it. Anyway,
it's all good. If you've seen it, you saw the one that I was talking about. I sent it in the DMs. You go to Top Lobsta, how you spell it, right over there, toplobsta.com, or on Twitter, toplobsta_, because my previous account got banned, so it's toplobsta_. Right. You can find me there. Yeah. So
I rock with your artwork. I most definitely will be hitting you up.
Thank you. And
links are in the bottom.
If I can quote an anarchist, not an anarchist, but his lawyer, Louis Ling's lawyer, said my client couldn't have been planting those bombs because he was at home making bombs. Since we're doing the whole anarchy, that's my favorite anarchist. I put your Feds hat on. Come on, guys.
Awesome.
We're gonna.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh shit, that's good stuff. I was not familiar with that quote. That's a great quote.
Yes, yeah, but that
awesome.
was his defense.
That's a great defense.
Amazing, and you know how he ended up.
He was not planting those bombs.
He was at home. I think it was dynamite. Yeah, he wasn't planting the dynamite. He couldn't have been because he was at home making his own. Tremendous.
That's beautiful.
Oh shit, that's awesome. Well, yeah. So if you can stick around a little bit after we get off, I got a couple of things I want to throw at you because there might be some stuff. I got some some folks I know who you might be able to link up with to do some stuff that might be I don't know, productive and profitable for you or whatever. But
okay, cool.
Anyway, yeah. So this has been great. I really think it's always fun to bring people on to. I know a lot of times we probably went over some stuff that you've been over with other people and everything, but hopefully we touched on some things that you haven't done on other podcasts and everything, and got a chance to explore a little bit of yourself to the extent that you want to expose yourself or whatever. With our audience, we appreciate you coming on and doing that because I think it's always good to get into, I don't know, your home life and some of the things how you came about all this and how you arrived where you are. It's interesting to us, and I think our audience finds it interesting too. And hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did, and we appreciate you coming on.
I did for sure. Sure. Actually, before we sign off, this Saturday, if you go to Robbie the Fire Bernstein's Twitter, he's doing a comedy show at my place this Saturday. If you're in the Lady Lake area of Florida, or if you're in Florida, get a ticket. Come on by, man. We're chilling out here. It's gonna be a good time, and we're building community.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, look, that's where it all starts and ends. Honestly, if everybody did what they try to do to the whole world, if they just took care of their own family that way and their own neighborhood that way, none of this other shit would even be necessary. It becomes necessary to people. Somebody's getting a phone call.
Yeah, my dad is trying to call me.
All right. Tell him to take that shirt off. But yeah, so much of this stuff is people trying to control the whole world, and they can't even clean up their own room. It's some messed up stuff.
It's another Jordan Peterson thing.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, appreciate you very much for coming on, and we appreciate everyone else for joining us tonight. And Marcus, you know the deal. Send them home.
All right, everybody needs to stay free.